What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another good morning Tottenham, and the games are coming thick and fast once again. Today we are previewing the game tomorrow, lunchtime kickoff at Ellen Road, Leeds United against Tottenham Hotspur. And we'll get straight into the preview. And as we said with the Man City and the Burnley game, how different the threats they pose. Burnley and Leeds also pose very different threats. And when you're kind of looking at this game coming into it, you're probably looking at it and saying, like, all right, with the threats that Leeds pose, we're going to have a lot bigger chance than we did against Burnley.
Yeah, I think the way Leeds play suits us a lot more. They're going to be high intensity, pressing from the front. They like to leave a lot of risk, but it's high risk, high reward from a Leeds point of view. Although it hasn't really been a high reward this season. They've been a bit off it. But they definitely like to attack. They've got really good attacking players in Raphinha, Rodrigo, who hasn't had the best of times, but he's still a massive threat. And they've got Harrison, who's been in decent form, Daniel James, very quick players, which is why I'm a bit worried about us playing out from the back, because us being closed down by these very, very fast players, I think could spell a bit of trouble, and I'm worried that we could panic on the ball. However, if we do put together some patterns of play like we did against Man City, then I'm very confident we can break the lines, and there's going to be space for us to play in 100%. Leeds leave space for you, and they always give you a chance, and that's the most positive thing when you're playing against a team like Leeds. They've conceded 10 goals in the last 2 games, 4 against Man United and 6 against Liverpool. So that goes to show you how open they can be in their back line. But against Man United, I know even though they lost 4-2, they showed within an instant they can get back in the game with the way they play as well. If you're not careful, if you're not on your game at all times, even against Liverpool, even though they lost 6-0, at 1-0, Raphinha has a goal chalked off offside, which was very tight. They had a number of openings. I think Daniel James tackled Alisson, and they just about got away with it. So even against Liverpool, they had chances to get back in the game. Obviously, ultimately losing 6-0. So this is a team where they give you chances, but you got to be careful as well, because they're very quick and very attacking.
Yeah, they do have a lot of threats in their team, Leeds, but coming into this, they are on awful form when you look at it. 4 losses in their last 5 games, 1 win in their last 6 games, and these losses are big losses. I mean, when you're looking at 4-2 against Man United, 6-0 against Liverpool, but that 6-0 against Liverpool, I mean, that can happen against anyone, against any team that Liverpool play, let's be honest. But they did lose 3-0 against Everton not so long ago, and they lost 1-0 to Newcastle as well. So when you're looking at it, we really should be going there, maybe not with confidence because of the way we played against Burnley, but with hope that we can get the 3 points this weekend, especially with the way they play and the way we are as well, where we can kind of really spring on this kind of Leeds size that will leave gaps.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just worried with some of the players that that are missing. Bentancur now apparently you're missing for 3 weeks, according to Dan Kilpatrick.
Really, 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
Bloody hell.
After being taken off against Burnley, they're saying Conte will confirm it later, but they're saying could be up to 3 weeks. And with his composure in the middle, without that, I think we could struggle to really make sure that we're keeping possession and keeping the ball away from Leeds, because with Højbjerg and Winks, I think Winks might be all right, actually. I think Winks has started the last few times we beat Leeds, actually. I think he started earlier in the season, and I think last season we beat him 3-0 at home. I think he also started, so I wouldn't be too worried about Winks. I'm just worried about Højbjerg being hassed and harried by these Leeds players, then rushed into bad passing decisions, and that costing us. I wouldn't be too worried about playing 3-4-3 in this game. I don't think being outnumbered in the middle is the worry. I just think us handling their press is going to be the big question, and if we can do that, there's going to be chances for us.
Yeah, let's have a look at the absentees that Leeds may have for this game. I mean, Greenwood, Bamford, Llorente, ruled out. So is Cooper and Calvin Phillips. So how much of a miss will Bamford and Phillips be for them?
Yeah, Phillips massive. I mean, Bamford he's been missing for a while, hasn't he?
He's been on and off all season.
Yeah, he hasn't really been able to get fit this season after a great first season in the Premier League. Got like 17 goals or so. A lot of people talking about him for England as well. But he didn't quite make that grade. Obviously, him being out isn't good. But yeah, Calvin Phillips in the centre, he's been a massive miss, I think, for Leeds. He's such a good player. He showed for England how good he is. One of the up and coming centre mids in England, 100%.
And he's one that would walk straight into our team.
Oh, hands down. I mean, this guy, I think he's already in the realm of probably ungettable at this point. Calvin Phillips.
Or even at Leeds,
from a Tottenham point of view.
Do you reckon?
I don't think we can get him.
Interesting. I mean, I don't see why we couldn't. I mean, you're looking at...
I think it's like a bit like Vlahovic. I think he's probably got bigger fish to look at.
You're looking at Calvin Phillips. I mean, in the teams above us, I mean, I don't think the top teams, the Champions League teams, I don't think they've got space for him. I think the players that they've got in the mid are all better than him. No,
I think he walks into Man United's team. I think...
Man United probably the only one.
I think Chelsea... I think he gets into their
Jorginho, Kovacic,
Kante. I think he gets into that team. I think he's arguably better than Kovacic. I think he's that good. I think he definitely get into their team. Man City, obviously they're Man City, but I think Liverpool as well. I think he can get into Liverpool's team. I think he's that good. This is how highly I rate him. Like, obviously they have Henderson, they have Thiago, they have Keita, Fabinho, but I think if they signed him, like, he would easily be like one of the main centre mids. I
do think that if one of these teams, a Chelsea, a Man United, or even a Liverpool, are looking for a central midfielder of that ilk, I still think Declan Rice is a bit above Calvin Phillips in the pecking order there.
Agree with that, but Calvin Phillips might be a bit of a cheaper option.
That's also true.
Rice would cost you now probably over 100 million. Calvin Phillips probably around 50, 60.
Yeah, I mean, I rate Calvin Phillips highly, but I don't think I rate him as highly as you. I don't think he walks into that Chelsea team. I don't.
I think I don't think he walks in, but I think he's one of the players where he's easily like, not one of the first names on the team sheet, but he gets a lot of game time at Chelsea is my point. I think he gets a lot of game time there.
Whereas as if he comes to Spurs, he's literally a nailed-on starter week in, week out.
Yeah.
What I'm saying about Calvin Phillips is, he can go to these clubs, but he's not a nailed-on starter week in, week out, whereas opposed to if he comes to Spurs, he most definitely is.
But I think it's a bit like... When I say it's a bit like Vlahovic last summer, we could have got him because even though he had one good season in Serie A, clearly teams weren't convinced to push the ball out for him just yet, and we had an opportunity. If we really went for him, we could get him. And do I think that moment for Calvin Phillips has passed yet? If we really push the ball out, can we get him, or is it a case of he's destined for someone bigger than Tottenham right now? I don't know.
I think if we push the boat out this summer, I think we could get him, but
I hope we do then, because I think he's class. I really rate him so highly. I think he's so good. But look, he's going to be a big miss. And I think him being out, no surprise. I think he's had problems this season and throughout the season, hasn't he, with injuries? I don't think it's just now. Yeah. So I think that's also probably a reason why they haven't been as strong in centre midfield as they have been last season. And that hopefully would help Højbjerg in the midfield battle and Harry Winks as well when we're trying to control the game and make sure that we're progressing the ball very quickly up the pitch. That's why I hope which we did very well against Man City. So hopefully that will help us. We'll know Calvin Phillips. He's going to be a massive miss.
Definitely. When you're looking at the past results against Leeds over the years, obviously they've only been in the Premier League. This is their second year in the Premier League since returning. Last year we lost at Ellen Road 3-1, beat them at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium 2-1.
That was only this season, yeah.
Beat them at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium 3-0 last year.
Yeah.
And 2-1 earlier this year. I think it was one of Antonio's first games for Spurs. But we've got kind of previous. I mean, I don't really remember that game last year under Ryan Mason that you were talking about when we lost 3-1. I mean, how did the game go in that one?
We certainly got beaten. If I remember rightly, it was a bit of an even game in the first half. I'm pretty sure we went 1-0 down and then we equalised. And then it went into the last 20 minutes and they got 2 late goals. Raphinha, I think, came on in the second half. and stretched the game, and all of a sudden we went on and lost 3-1, and that was pretty much the nail in the coffin of any top four hopes or lingering top four hopes that we had at that time.
Was that the week after the cup final?
Was it the week after the cup final? Potentially, I can't remember exactly when. But it wasn't too far after it. But that game, they pressed us and they harried us, and we had no answer. I remember when we equalised, we got a bit lucky to equalise and make it 1-1. It wasn't. I think as well we had a very dodgy VAR which could have put us 2-1 up, and that went against us, and then we ended up conceding the goal. But in these type of games, if you're not on your game, like Man United and Liverpool, they played very, very well, and they were sharp. They made sure that they were exploiting Leeds and playing around them when they pressed them. And if we're lethargic, if we go into this game like slow, lethargic, feeling sorry for ourselves because we lost to Burnley, if we have a negative feeling and mentality going into this game instead of sharp, always on the front foot, looking for the next pass, being aware, then we could get undone if we're not careful. If we go because you see, like if we start the game like we did against Wolves, then you could find yourselves 2-0 down. Like you could in this kind of game. They could be that sharp leads if you're not careful. You have to watch them.
Yeah, definitely true. And, aside from Calvin Phillips, they've also got one of the Premier League's best players, in my opinion, in this position, in Raphinha. Ones to watch here. 9 goals this season, 2 assists as well, with Harrison, who's got 6 goals, 2 assists. So these are the 2 players we've earmarked as the ones to watch. But Raphinha is a proper player. He's a proper player. And I think probably after this summer, after this season, he might look to move on from Leeds.
Yeah, I'm surprised he wasn't already because he's playing for Brazil as well, isn't he? At the moment, he's
scoring.
Yeah, he's scoring for Brazil. Last season, he showed a lot of potential of what he can do. I think this season he's been a lot more consistent on the right hand side. I think he's a special player. I think he's one of those players, a bit like Sadio Mane, where he's really good at a club like Leeds, but if he went to a club like Liverpool, he would explode into being world class. And I think he's easily in that bracket. And again, is this a player like we've probably missed the boat on? Because like he's probably in the summer he was like 50. How much is he now? 80. Something like that. Yeah. Like
60, 70, 80.
Like it's Brazilian international now. It's going to be, and he's a good age. What, 23? Like I don't think he's that old.
Top player.
Like, yeah, I rate him so highly. If Spurs got him,
he's 25.
25 now. He's still there. You go. Even so, he's a very good age. So he can explode at any moment. Like he's already starting. We're starting to see like an extremely good player. But like he could, if he went to one of the top teams, easily a 15 goal plus wide forward, easy for me.
Yeah, I rate him so highly, and I was saying in the last summer, I would love to push the boat out for Raphinha.
He was being linked with West Ham though in January, wasn't he?
I know.
That was never going to happen.
I don't think that was ever going to happen. And I think that West Ham put in a bid for 50 million that got rejected in January, I believe. But look, I think he's an absolute baller of a player. I would love him at Spurs. But now we've got Kulusevski. I mean, I don't see us trying to get another player in that position.
No, I think it's unlikely that we go push the boat. I mean, Raphinha's the pace, the trickery, the finishing. He can take free kicks as well. He can play on the left and the right as well, Raphinha. I think he's played more centrally. I think he's just class, and he's definitely the danger man for sure. If we stop Raphinha, we go a long way to stopping Leeds. And you saw against Man United for the first half, they were 2-0 down, and they brought him on at half time, and within 5 minutes it was 2-2.
Yeah.
And that's the shows.
And that's the class he has. That's the literal class he has. And obviously he got one of the goals, and Junior Firpo as well. What do you think about Junior Firpo coming in, obviously with a big reputation? How do you think he's been this season?
I haven't been too impressed. I don't think he's done terribly, but it's definitely an adjustment period when coming to the Premier League. He's a bit of a weird one. He seems to be like a right-footed left back. Like he doesn't seem to be natural, but yeah, I mean, I haven't been too impressed with him. He's not one where I'm thinking, oh, he looks great. But again, it could be one in like a year's time when once he's settled properly, you're thinking he actually looks decent.
It's going to be interesting to see the reaction from these Spurs players after that interview and press conference from Antonio Conte. There's been a bit of an update on that regarding Antonio by The Athletic. I'll just read you the headlines that are up here. And it says, Conte's departure is not thought to be imminent, with Daniel Levy understood to be planning a meeting with the Spurs boss. Spurs players are enthused by Antonio Conte's energy and intensity, with some exasperated by the thought of him leaving. Antonio Conte will only leave. This one's by Romano. The other ones were from The Athletic. This one's saying Conte will only leave if he sees they are not going together with his ideas. His ideas are to win and to build something important with experienced players. It is now up to Tottenham to show him they want to follow his ideas. His focus is on Tottenham. And then The Athletic followed on and it says, Levy is frustrated by Conte's comments last week, questioning the transfer policy and is planning constructive talks with him.
There was also another one that I'm not sure it was Spurs Express. I can't remember where I read it, but it also said there are high sources in the club who think he won't stay beyond the summer.
Wow.
That's what I can't remember which one. Which was it? Daily Hotspur. I can't remember which one. But they said
when he's saying that he wants the club to follow his vision, otherwise he won't stay. And he's already said the club's vision and his vision don't align in terms of getting experienced players and bringing in youth players that have a ceiling and.
Well, he never said they don't align. He said is what he usually does.
Yeah, but what we're saying here is that Fabrizio Romano is saying that his vision is experienced players. His ideas are to win and build something with important and experienced players. So if they don't align and Conte is getting increasingly frustrated with it, then I don't see him staying beyond the summer, to be honest.
No, and he definitely looks frustrated. Yeah, it says well-placed sources said that they cannot see Antonio Conte still being in charge at Tottenham next season. That was from The Athletic as well. Which is a bit worrying, but it's a bit worrying that if he's already made his mind up in that case. But apparently the players are desperate for him to stay, and that's the important thing. So hopefully it's up to them. They need to get the results for him. They can't have performances like yesterday and just games drifting by and allowing opposition to get results. We need these results. We need to at least get close to that Champions League place, even if we're not going to get it. We need to at least look like we could get it. And that's what Conte. I think that's why Conte is so depressed right now, because he says in that interview. When he was talking to beIN Sports, I need to feel that 1% chance. And even he said usually it's a 1% chance of winning the league, but this for now, which with Tottenham, I need to feel there's at least a 1% chance of getting it. And that's something to fight for. And when he looks at the table now, he probably doesn't see it. That's probably why he's so angry and so emotional, because he doesn't see that chance of getting top four. But look, a few wins and that can all change. That's the truth.
Yeah.
But that we need that on the pitch. We need the players to step up, and it starts with Saturday. And I don't want any excuses about they pressed us and all this kind of stuff. We need to make sure that we come up with a game plan. We exploit we know how Leeds are going to play. We exploit them at the back, and we come away with 3 points. And that hopefully that can be a start of something.
Yeah, I mean, do you think we're going to see that reaction from the players this weekend? If it's true that they're all very worried and panicking that Conte can potentially leave, I mean, it's in their hands to turn this around, these players. And if they get a couple of results now, maybe a good feeling can kind of seep into this squad and we can go on a bit of a run. But
if we did lose on Saturday, you would big questions about where Conte's head would be at after what he said on Wednesday. There would have to be big questions about that, because 5 losses in 6, I think, it could be the final nail in the coffin for top 4 if we lose on Saturday. That really could be.
Every week we're saying the final nail in the coffin.
I know, but yeah, it's true. And even if we lose on Saturday, we can go on a run of 10 wins in a row and get it, but it's unlikely, isn't it? But you just, after what Conte has said, I find it hard to believe he could really. I would hate to see what he's going to say if we lose on Saturday.
Yeah,
I really would.
Well, the press conference today is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be blockbuster today, and obviously all the journalists. I don't think they're going to ask him about the game. Everything's going to be about his future.
Does he want to talk about the game yet?
Yeah, no, you know what I mean. So Look, so how do you think the game's going to go this weekend?
I think we're going to win.
You think we're going to win?
Gonna have to say it. We have to win.
Say it with your chest,
we have
man.
to
Say it
win.
with your
Come
chest.
on, we have to win. I do think Leeds play into our hands the way they play. I do think that the way we set up definitely suits the way Leeds play. Although we did struggle against them at home, although we won in the end, we struggled for the first part. But I think with the formation we play, with Romero and Dyer back in the team, I don't think Romero played last time out. I know Bentancur's not there, but I do think Winks in this kind of game with space to pass into actually could be a good asset. So I'm thinking, and I probably would play Lucas in this game. I think
Instead of Kulu.
Yeah, I'll probably look at him just to hopefully exploit some of the space that Leeds are leaving, or maybe even a Bergwijn, one of those two. I would look at them because I think the pace is going to be very important.
This is the game where Son's going to be really vital. Really vital, because you saw at Burnley how he was stifled with the lack of space, and you saw how good he was against Man City with the bucket loads of space that he had. So I think this game against Leeds, you're going to see good performance from him and Son.
The only thing I would say is with Leeds conceding 10 in the last two, I'm sure they're going to have a reaction as well to that. So I think that it might be a bit of a tougher Leeds. I don't expect us to score 5 goals, like just because they've conceded 10 in 2. I don't expect us to score buckets. I expect them to regroup with themselves and kind of make sure that they're not conceding the type of chances they were. But I'm sure as they always do, they always throw a bit of caution to the wind, and we have to exploit that. So I think we'll score at least 2, and I'm hoping that we don't concede at least 2.
All right. So what's your score prediction?
Going to go 3-1.
3-1. Yeah, I'm going to go 2-1. I think that it will be a tight game. I think Leeds will come and play their game, and I think they know that if they press us and put us under pressure, then they can definitely get good things out of this game. I think Bielsa would be definitely drilling that into them, that if they're really on their game, they can definitely get a result in this game. So I think that they're going to come, but I think hopefully us on the break with Kane and Son and either Lucas or Kulusevski, I think that we're going to have a bit too much firepower.
Reggie will be
hopefully.
back as well.
Yeah, exactly, and I think Reggie will be big for us this weekend too. So I think we'll just about nick it 2-1. But that is my score prediction. My brother's going 3-1. For my goal scorers, I'm going to go for Son at the double for me.
Son at the double. I'm going to go for Kane 1, and I'm going to go Lucas to get 1.
All right, so that's our predictions for the game this weekend. That is our match preview as well. So let's move on and let's see what people think of the game this weekend. But just before we move on to that, actually, with all this talk about Conte leaving and stuff like that, Daniel Levy is going to have one last Hail Mary up his sleeve, and that's going to be trying to force Pochettino back to this club. Mm-hmm. And I actually think if Conte does leave, that could be the one that actually happens. And I believe it could be about time that Pochettino thinks, maybe his days at PSG are over by this summer, because I don't think they're getting on too well there still, Pochettino and the hierarchy at PSG.
No, I think the fans clearly don't like him either for one reason or another, even though results really have not been bad. Look, they get some bad results in Liga away from home. They've struggled. Like, they've lost a few bad games, like losing to Nantes 3-1 recently, and they've lost a few other games, but they are still 13 points clear. They have just beaten Real Madrid 1-0 in the Champions League.
In a really good performance.
In a very good performance. So, 100% I would take him back. If it ever happened that Conte really wanted to leave and Pochettino was available and wanted to come back to Tottenham, I would take him back. The only problem is if anyone gets there first, at Man United, if they jump ahead of the queue. That would be the one issue. But hopefully, because some of the Man United fans don't seem convinced by him because they don't rate how he's doing at PSG. So maybe they're not convinced by him, and if they're not, then maybe there would be an opportunity. Maybe that would be their last chance. So maybe re-back Poch if he came back. But there'll be a lot of trust.
Of managerial merry-go-rounds here in the summer that make complete sense. And that's Conte to Man United, Zidane to PSG, and Poch to Tottenham. And probably makes a bit too much sense for it all to happen. And it probably won't happen, but it all makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah, Kind of. Hopefully, Conte doesn't decide to leave.
Obviously.
But if things keep going the way they're going, and Pochettino is willing to come back to Tottenham, then there might be the one last chance he has, Levy, to try and.
I think Poch would be willing to come back to Tottenham. I think he had his problems with this hierarchy and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you can't help who you fall in love with, and we know that too well, don't we?
Exactly. So I hope one day he does come back. I kind of hope it's not this summer, but I do hope
it's not this summer too, because I want Conte here for the foreseeable future.
But I do hope one day he does come back, and if it does happen to be this summer, then it happens to be this summer, and I'll welcome him back with open arms. But the thing is, if he comes back, there's still a lot of trust issues, especially with the board, that will need to be getting over, because Conte would have left because they failed to back him, or they failed to agree with his vision. And so if Poch comes in, we know it went wrong last time. So how would there be any assurances that it won't go wrong again?
I think it's like him coming in when he first came into Spurs. It's pretty much a similar job that needs to be done. A rebuild from the start, get a lot of players out, bring a lot of players in, and that's what Poch. I think that's what Poch likes to do. I think he likes to come in and see a project, see a long-term vision, like he did when he first came into us. And I think it'll be a very similar job.
We're a different club than we were, aren't we?
We are a different club now, and maybe it can be a bit quicker than it was when he first came in.
Maybe, but I'm just saying, are there any, wouldn't he want assurances that we're a big club now? As he said, we need to start acting like a big club. Are we going to do that? Or is it going to be the same stuff?
Well, it's all very hypothetical situations here, but I think we are a club that has taken it up a level since Pochettino first came here, and I think we do kind of spend money now, albeit we haven't spent money in the right way.
So why can't we agree a vision with Conte?
All right, sorry about that, guys, but we are back. But just to let you know, if you want to come on and have your say, the link is in the community section right now. So come on and have your say on the game this weekend, and also in the Conte situation as well. We want to hear your thoughts on everything related to that. But what we were talking about is this hypothetical situation of Conte leaving and potentially Pochettino to come in. And you just know if Conte walks. We've said Conte was Daniel Levy's last Hail Mary kind of thing. That's going to be his real last Hail Mary, to try and prove to the fan base, to give something positive. Because you think about any other manager that he can bring in, the fan base won't react to anything after losing Conte, apart from Poch coming in maybe.
Yeah,
and even that.
Or Klopp or Guardiola.
Yeah.
It literally has to be that kind of caliber, because where do you go from
Poch
Conte?
coming in is a step downwards, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and unfortunately it is. And look, we all love Pochettino, and again, as I said, I'd welcome him back, but there is they've let him down once, so where are the assurances? Like, the fan base are going to be definitely on their guard. Is Poch going to be let down again? And the transfer windows and everything is going to be very hyper. What's going on? And I look, I'm not saying it's a bad idea to bring it back, but I'm just saying, if we can't again agree the fundamentals of Conte, and then we bring Poch back, like, where's the guarantees that again, even if Poch gets us back to where we were, which is great, but will we again fall into the same trap of not being backed again and fall into what happened before?
Probably. But at the end of the day, it's what it represents with Conte leaving, and I think even with him bringing Poch back, I think that's it for me.
No doubt.
Really sorry about this, guys, but we are back, and hopefully back for good. I think we have fixed the problem now. But it's time to get guests on.
Let's read the super chat first.
Yeah, it's time to get guests on. So do click the link in the community section if you want to have your say. We've got a super chat here from Studios. Hi guys, hope you are well. Disgraceful ENIC and the board, and hope Conte does leave us there. Any news regarding him staying or going?
Well, look, I don't think we're in danger right now. Well, depends if we lose on Saturday, I guess. But I think, to be honest, I don't think he's going to leave right now. I think the only news that we got is apparently sources in Tottenham don't expect him to be manager of Tottenham next season, which is worrying to hear. But hopefully we can turn it around at the end of this season and maybe convince him to stay. But at the moment, everything looks bad. And I think the form we're on, the way the table looks, it's all contributing to how Conte's feeling, and he's a very emotional person. And if we do get a few wins, maybe his mood will change. But right now, I understand why he's feeling like he is.
Completely. Let's bring on our first guest of the show, and that is...
Again. No.
And that is Rez.
One
I don't know
sec.
if we're on or off, but... What the hell is going on today? Bloody
Are we all right?
hell.
I think we're... Can't tell.
I think we're live still.
All right. Let's carry on.
Let's go to Rez. Rez, how are we doing today, buddy?
Yeah, not so bad. How you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of problems this morning, but personally, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I mean, that Arsenal goal pretty much killed me last night after their 95th minute winner against Wolves. But we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about the Leeds game this weekend. And, you know, after the Man City game, after the Burnley game, how are you feeling coming into this one?
Yeah, it's going to be a weird one, I think. I've got the idea that it's going to be a bit of a ding-dong because Leeds play quite open, as we know. They're not one to sort of shut up shop. This is Bielsa's philosophy.
He's not working.
And so, yeah, I think it's one that we're not going to be able to sort of predict with any real accuracy because both teams are out of form. Both teams have had damaging losses in the last few days. It's a question of will Dr. Tottenham be turning up for this one, I think.
Yeah, when you're looking at some of the teams that we could have been playing coming in after such a damaging defeat against Burnley, surely you're looking at Leeds at one of the teams that probably you would like to face at this point.
Well, you know, after the great win against Man City, that you would have thought, well, who do you want to face? And Burnley would have been on that list. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we want to sort of be thinking that way as any kind of comfort or consolation.
We have to try find some positivity from somewhere, surely.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing. It's sort of we've been in that position a number of times and tried to console ourselves or comfort ourselves or give ourselves some encouragement, and it's sort of not panned out. Let's say. I on paper, yeah, you would think Leeds would be a good opponent to sort of come across now when you need a win. But Elland Road is a hostile ground.
Yeah.
Their crowd is very noisy. And when you're talking about a team that sort of seems to have a bit of a void when it comes to self-sufficiency, for being able to drag themselves individually up by the bootstraps in a hostile environment, I wouldn't think of any of our players as being capable, barring one or two. It's very difficult to predict. I think it could end up being a really sort of scrappy, messy 0-0, or a scintillating example of, you know, just back and forth from one goal to another, and a really sort of high scoring, narrow victory for either side.
And you've got to think as well, with Leeds conceding 10 in last two, they're going to have to want a reaction to their bad form as well, won't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, Liverpool, the Liverpool result, I mean, it was a dismantling of them. You know, it would have been so confidence sapping. You know, the Man United result would have been less of an impact on them because it's one of their derby games, so they are aware that, you know, form goes out of the window in a derby game. Plus the fact that they were 2-0 down and pulled themselves back to 2-2, and then lost, you know, then conceded two games. You know, the sort of blow to their confidence wouldn't have been